Hello, welcome back to Clash of the Commanders 4, where we answer the question, who was the most underrated Loyalist or British leader in the backcountry? My name is Ranger Adrian from 96 National Historic Site, and my answer to this question is Richard Pearis. Now, if you're from South Carolina, you may recognize that name, as he is the man who Pearis Mountain is named for in Greenville County. His influence played a role in bringing the Loyalists together, both early in the war in 1775 and even 76, and during the Southern Campaign later on. Now, Pearis was born in Ireland around 1725. When he was 10, his family moved to the colonies, and eventually by 1752 he is living in the Shenandoah Valley area of Virginia and is an Indian trader. After the French and Indian War, he moved to South Carolina with his wife Rhoda and their children. In South Carolina, on the land that was given him by the Cherokees, he would build a house, a trading post, a mill, and storage buildings. As the colonies became ever closer to open conflict with England, the leaders of the rebel cause worried about the influence that prominent backcountry settlers might have over their neighbors, especially over their political opinions. In August of 1775, Richard Pearis was named by the Council of Safety as one of those backcountry leaders who was unlikely to support their cause. And they were right. Upon learning of the shipment of ammunition that was being sent to the Cherokee by the Patriot leaders in the fall of 1775, Pearis joined forces with Patrick Cunningham in spreading the rumor that those supplies were supposed to be used for a Loyalist massacre. Although he was not with Cunningham when they captured the wagon, he does join Cunningham and other Loyalists in their attack on the small fort at 96 in November of 1775. After that battle at 96, Patriot leader Colonel Richard Richardson begins his movement. Pearis is one of those leaders, those Loyalist leaders, that Richardson captures. And he captures him in mid-December, sends him to Charleston, where Pearis lays in irons. After 2 months of imprisonment, Pearis and 33 of his fellow Loyalist prisoners petition the Council of Safety to release them and settle a peace. They are ignored, and they are kept prisoner for another 7 months. They are finally released when the Cherokee begin raiding the backcountry villages and settlements. During this time, a lot of your Patriots and Loyalists will set aside their differences to help defend their homes and their families from the Cherokee raids. Kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend kind of thing. Hearing of these attacks, Pearis and his fellow prisoners once again petition the council for release, and this time they are. Freedom is granted on the condition that they sign an oath of allegiance, and upon release they report straight to Colonel Williamson's militia camp, but they are turned away. Williamson trusts some of them, but he does not trust Pearis. He also does not believe that his men will be willing to fight alongside such ardent and influential Loyalists. After being barred from service, Pearis returns home to find it burnt and destroyed. My wife, 2 daughters, and 1 son were surprised by break of day by one Colonel Thomas and 400 militia, who beat and abused my daughters and made all prisoners after burning, destroying, and carrying away the property. After being taken prisoner, the family had been forced over 100 miles away from their home. Pearis was able to find them, and he spent a little bit of time with them, but he is so harassed that he was obliged to fly for protection to Charleston. While there, he sought compensation for the lost property and the destroyed property from the South Carolina legislature, but it's not even looked at until 1778. By that time, he had already left South Carolina. In 1777, he had returned to the backcountry, where he began calling together Loyalists with the intent of marching to Florida and joining forces there. He was able to gain the support of 400 men in this endeavor. However, they are foiled when the Patriots learn about it and stop them before they can leave. In the end, Pearis and 6 other men are the only ones to make it to the Pensacola area in Florida. It was a journey of nearly 700 miles, and it was all on foot. Richard Pearis remained in Florida until the end of 1778. He is then ordered to accompany the British on their invasion to Savannah. When Charleston falls in 1780, he finds himself once again back in South Carolina. And it is here that he is to play a key role in General Clinton's plans for the South, as Clinton believed he was the best choice to act as an emissary for the Loyalists in the backcountry. Clinton orders Pearis to travel to the areas in the backcountry where they know the Loyalist support is strongest. There, he is to inform all Loyalists that the British Army is in South Carolina and that they will protect them. Once Charleston falls and is secure, the troops will begin making their way into the backcountry. The Loyalists are to prepare for this by taking supplies and procuring horses. Once everything is ready, if they have the manpower, the Loyalists in the backcountry are to begin seizing and securing such of the people as have been most subservient to the purposes of the rebellious leaders in encouraging their tyrannical law, and thereby prevent the mischief they will attempt. Pearis is extremely successful at gaining this Loyalist support. He reports that he has nearly 6,000 men that are ready to take up arms against the Patriots, and that they have disarmed all the rebels from Savannah River to Broad River near the borders of North Carolina, being upwards of 100 miles in breadth, destroying their forts and imprisoned their leaders to the number of 40. This success opens the door up for the British to have a really strong foothold in the backcountry. However, it's not going to last. They're going to throw it away. Clinton leaves, and when he leaves Cornwallis in charge. Cornwallis and his fellow commanders do not value Pearis's actions and his work, and they do not respect him. Frustrated, Pearis lamented about it, that it was no sooner completed than Colonels Enos and afterward Colonel Belfour arrived to take upon them the command, and in a short time after they returned the arms and ammunition into their hands and released their leaders. So Pearis had gone about rounding up support, capturing arms, and arresting leaders, only to have it turned around and given up. To make matters worse, Belfour considered him useful but did not like him. Colonel Enos and Cornwallis had absolutely no use for him. When Pearis wrote a letter telling them that he was on his way to Whitehall Plantation to receive the arms, etc., deposited there. From thence I shall proceed to Fort Rutledge on same business. Enos demanded to know on whose authority he was acting, even though he was doing what Colonel Clinton had commanded him to do. Enos also wrote to Cornwallis that I would not have entrusted Pearis with the corporal's guard. Angered by the undoing of his hard work, Pearis moved his family back to the Augusta area, where he stayed until he was captured during the siege on Augusta in 1781. After the war, Richard Pearis and his family were granted land and moved to the Bahamas, where he lived for the rest of his life. In the end, his success at recruiting Loyalists in 1780 showed that there was willingness on the Loyalists in the backcountry to pick up arms and fight with the British. The imprisonment of the Patriot leaders and the capturing of their arms gave the British the opportunity and the chance to spend time training, which would have led to a better militia and a weaker enemy. Had the British not squandered this opportunity, the Southern campaign and even the rest of the war may have turned out completely different. By throwing away Pearis's work, they opened the gate to Kings Mountain, Cowpens, and the rest of the British downfall in the South.